Hi, my name's Phil. I like to come out politics. So, if I were to say that the Reform UK councillor leading Kent County Council was complaining about immigration, you'd no doubt say, oh, this must be a slow news day. What's next? Dogs are awfully keen on cats. Come on, Phil. I thought you kept yourself up to date with British politics. Complaining about immigration is what Reform UK do. In fact, they never shut up about it. Every problem and every perceived problem is because immigrants exist as far as they're concerned. But what if I were to tell you that the specific complaint from this head of a Reform UK council is that there aren't enough immigrants, that they want more, and are complaining that the Labour government is driving away the immigrants they already have and making it too difficult to get more immigrants into Kent of all places. And this isn't even the first example of a senior Reform UK politician openly going against their own party's major policies. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. Okay, so what's all this about? Well, you could have knocked me down with a feather when I saw this. Lyndon Kemcaron, who is, of course she's called Karen, who is Reform UK's leader of Kent County Council, has written to the government to complain about immigrants. Specifically, her fear that immigrants are going to leave Kent and that it's too difficult to get more because of our excessively, not generous, restrictive immigration processes. Now, coming from anyone else, this would not be remarkable. Her specific concern is for care workers. Care work is not well paid, often difficult hours, is both physically and emotionally demanding at times. There isn't exactly a queue of British workers waiting to sign up for the job. So it's a sector which traditionally relies very heavily on migrant workers. Now, this in itself wouldn't be a huge problem for anyone in either the Conservative Party or Reform UK, who routinely look down on public service sectors like this. But elderly people depend upon care workers, and Reform and the Tories are especially dependent upon the votes of the elderly. And restricting visas for jobs where we have serious shortages that absolutely cannot be filled with the domestic population is a ridiculous policy. It was a policy implemented by the Tories, of course, but Labour have not helped. In fact, Reform UK's leadership in Kent is writing to object to plans to further tighten the rules. Ironically, of course, because of the threat Reform UK poses if Labour do not look like they are managing all forms of immigration as key voters would expect by the next election. But sure, a council leader complaining about the way our current visa rules work for the care sector would not be at all remarkable. But coming from a Reform UK council leader in a county which is known for being particularly anti-immigration, it's off the charts. I mean, if her party were in government, remember, their policy is not to maintain the current restrictive visa process, it's to make it way worse. The only net zero Farage is interested in is net zero migration. Reform UK have they don't have many policies, but they do have a policy of reducing immigration to the same level as emigration. If Kemcaron's party were to win a general election, something she now considers of grave concern would look like a picnic. What is happening here is that at the national level, Reform UK is saying that immigration needs to be basically stopped. The immigrants are really bad for society, really bad for our standard of living. But at a local level, Reform UK are complaining that immigration rules are already too severe and are positively alarmed at the prospect of them becoming even more restrictive. This would be like a Labour council complaining that workers have too many rights. It's also not the only example of a senior Reform UK politician elected this year as part of their momentum since the election, making it clear that they don't agree with their own party on major policies. Like disagreements on details or fringe policies, that's quite normal, obviously that's going to happen. But arguing that immigration rules need to be loosened, not tightened, is a very odd thing for a Reform UK council leader to be doing. It's a bit like the case of Luke Campbell. He was elected as Reform UK's mayor for Hull, near me. He was asked about green energy projects, which provide a lot of investment and jobs in the region. And Campbell said he would ignore his party's policies when they come into conflict with what's good for jobs in the region. He specifically said that he supported the green energy projects in the area and that he will keep doing so regardless of what his national leader says. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? That you can have senior members of the party so at odds with fundamental. I emphasise these are fundamental policies of Reform UK. And yet, when you understand what Reform UK really are, as opposed to what they're supposed to be, it does sort of make sense. See, Reform UK are not really an anti-immigration party. They're not really an anti-net zero party. They're just a party of contrarians. What unites them is not any particular policy or group of policy, as is normal for most political parties. What unites them is the not unreasonable belief that established politics isn't working. Most of their voters support them, not because they approve of Farage or even specific policies, although anti-immigration policies do tend to have reasonably broad support there. But most of their voters support them simply because they think it's time to hit the emergency button. The Tories made everything worse. Literally nothing about the country is better now than it was in 2010 when they came to power. But the public are impatient for change from Labour as well, and nobody's telling them about what they're actually doing, not least Labour themselves. So, of course, you know, if you're just someone who has looked at the utter devastation the Tories left, and you look at Labour and you go, well, it's been a year, nothing's actually better yet, and you believe that things can't get any worse, and you think the country's stuck in a doom loop, and you didn't learn your lesson from Brexit, that there are people who want your life to be even worse, then you may well imagine, well, why not try something different? How could it actually be worse than this? Which is why I keep saying, if Labour can produce tangible improvements before the election, this problem should subside dramatically. The public won't believe talk of foundations being fixed. They've heard it too many times before. They want to see their lives getting better, not being told, oh, it's just around the corner, just vote for us one more time. No. And this is why projects such as the Best Start Centres should help a lot. But in the here and now, most reform supporters just want things to get better. They don't see things getting better. They aren't really into political ideology any more than supporters of most other parties are. And if someone running a Reform UK council sees a problem with attracting care staff, they recognise that British workers aren't queuing up to fill these roles, and that if migrant workers leave, then of course, you know, you're going to be in real trouble. Then obviously you're just going to want the problem fixed in the only way which seems feasible, making it easier, not harder, to bring in, you know, relatively low paid foreign workers to do the jobs locals don't want to do. So what happens when you have a populist party which is fundamentally full of shit, deliberately misdiagnosing problems and offering up solutions which only make those same problems worse? And this is also deliberate, because the last thing Reform UK want to do is fix things. They want an angry population. But I do wish I could be the one to write back to this council leader. I might point out that her own party's policies officially consider the immigration rules to be too generous, not too restrictive. That foreign workers leaving Kent should be a good thing because it'll improve public services for the locals, according to her party. That indeed there should be no net migration at all, according to her party. I would ask her what the net migration is for Kent, and if it's above zero, why she's complaining. I might end the letter by asking if she's ever read Reform UK's policies and if perhaps she joined the wrong party by mistake in some sort of drunken fit. And regardless of what's in the response to that letter, which I suspect is not what I would advise, I would be highlighting this case to make sure that people see that Reform UK, the one that Nigel Farage wishes to project to the country, is fundamentally different to the Reform UK which actually operates in various regions of the country. In fact, the next time Farage asks Starmer a question in Parliament, doesn't matter what the question is, Starmer should just respond, perhaps the honourable member needs to sort out what his own party's policies are before offering to help with mine, because I received a letter from the Reform UK leader of Kent County Council who was complaining that we're making it too difficult to get more immigrants into Kent. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.